Hi there, it's Olga. I'm so happy to announce that my new collection that is called Travel and Adventure is now available at CraftStash online store. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the new products really quickly and explain what you can do with them, and then I will demonstrate how I made this card. So let's get started. This new collection includes 4 large die sets, 2 stamp sets, 1 embossing folder, and 1 stencil. All those products are great for scene building, so you can create various landscapes, whether it is the forest or the mountains or the countryside. Those products are also great for building 3D projects, which I will explain to you later on in this video. Let's start the review with the largest die set that is called Diorama Card Builder. This one is meant for creating 3D projects, but you can also use it on the flat project. It's quite large. It took me 3 A4 magnetic sheets to place all the elements. And the size of this frame here is 5 by 7 inches. Plus it has some scored lines at both sides to create the sides of diorama. There are also 2 frames. One is the forest one and another one is the grass one. There is also a freestanding large tree. There are a bunch of other elements. This is the plain frame, by the way. The smaller elements are plants, shrubs, and some grasses and petals, just to finish off your diorama projects. Here are the 2 projects that I have created using this die set. One is the 5-layer diorama card, and another one is 5 by 3.5 inch mini album. I have already published the tutorial for these 2 projects on my channel, so go ahead and watch my previous video where I'm explaining how to use this set step by step. I love how quickly and easily the mini album came together, because everything is pre-measured and you can concentrate on the fun part, which is creating your layout and personalizing it. The next die set is called Over the Bridge, and this one includes a 7-inch long bridge image, as well as a bunch of vehicles like train and couches, cars, trucks, a scooter, and even a couple of boats. The bridge die can also be used for embossing and hot foiling. I also featured it in the diorama project, so again, watch my previous video for more information. The next product is a 5 by 7 embossing folder called In the Country, and this one creates an entire landscape for you. This one gives you nice deep embossing, and therefore it's kind of double-sided. You can use either the side with the raised outlines or the one with the debossed outlines. You can also trim the panel in half and create mini cards and use just a part of the landscape. You can use it alone or combine it with other elements to build up your own landscape. A perfect addition to the landscape folder would be this die set that is called About Town. It includes 9 buildings plus small extras like picket fence, some trees and bushes. This is the card that I have created combining those 2 products. The tutorial is coming out later this week, so keep an eye for it. This new die set is also the perfect match for the village die set that was released earlier. As you see, this one has a bit smaller buildings, so when you combine the 2, you can put the new ones in the foreground and the old ones in the background. The houses are also a bit different design. The new ones has a lot of thatched houses, an A-frame house, a church, a barn, and so on. This set is also a perfect match for the diorama set, so you can add the houses to this landscape and you can even build up an entire village. It's all up to you. The next element is a stencil that is called Build a Scene. It's perfect to be used on its own. You can ink through it or add embossing paste, do any stenciling techniques, and it's also the perfect background for adding other elements, whether they are die cuts or stamped images. Just to let you know, this stencil is not the coordinating one for the embossing folder. It's just one more different landscape. This new collection also includes 2 large 6x8 stamp sets. Just like all other projects, those are meant for scene building. There are a bunch of houses, hills, trees, and other elements like cobblestones, water, walls, and vehicles. These stamps can be used for coloring, but since the images have that hand-drawn look to them, you can skip the coloring entirely if you want to. These are great for using with dioramas or with the embossing folders and with a stencil as well. And this is the last product. This one is called In the Country. This is the die set that is meant for creating a layered scene. It has a bunch of lovely outlines, the mountains, the trees, the island, and the water and the river, plus a bunch of smaller elements like trees and shrubs. There are also nice little add-ons like clouds and the flying birds. Now let's create a card using this very die set, and I will show you exactly how it works on a project. So I started by die cutting a bunch of 5x7 panels. I used the die for it, but you can also use a paper trimmer. The first die cut is a plain light gray background. Then I've die cut a couple of panels out of printed vellum from my previous release. One is gray large shells and another one is the water pattern. I have also die cut some panels out of patterned paper. I used the shades of gray and green, and the papers are used by Craft Consortium. This pad is called Grunge Dark Tones. Next, I'm going to use the various outlines from the die set to trim down the panels. And I'm going to start with the gray printed vellum. The background is going to remain plain, so I'm placing the mountain outline at the top of the panel. I'm taping it down and then I'm going to send it through the die cutting machine. After I have die cut this outline, I think I'm going to trim down the panel one more time, and I'm going to use one more outline on the remaining piece of paper. And this way I can layer these two, overlap the vellum, and it's going to create a darker shade for the mountain that is closer to us. For landscapes like these, it always makes sense to move from the lightest shade to the darker one. The lighter shades are nearly blending with the sky, and the things that are closer to us have more contrast. Then I'm going to use the next hill outline, and this time I'm placing it onto the light gray patterned paper. I also used the forest outline on a greenish paper, and then I'm going to put all the layers that I have made so far together. I'm using the liquid glue, which is Ranger Multimedia Matte, simply applying it onto each next layer and sticking it down onto the previous one. This is a very simple process, but very satisfying because you can already see how your scene is building up. And by the way, all the tools and products that I'm using are listed down below in the description box as well as on my blog. Next, I'm going to take this entire piece and put it into the paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim it down, and thus I'm going to create the straight horizontal line, and that is going to be the water line. For the water, I'm going to use the printed vellum with a wave pattern. I'm trimming down that panel so it's not going to show through the top layers that are transparent. And then I'm sticking it down at the bottom of the background layer. And then I'm placing that entire forest and mountains on top of it. And again, I'm using the liquid glue all the time. Next, I'm going to attach the island shape, and this time I'm combining the foam tape with the liquid adhesive. On this project, I'm going to use all the outlines, but you don't have to do that each time. You can totally use just one or two of them and create your own type of landscape. And finally, I've die cut the riverbanks out of the darkest shade of green, and I'm going to attach them to my card front as well, and this is going to be the foreground. And now I'm going to use the double-sided tape to attach this entire panel onto the 5x7 card base. At this point, you can totally leave this project as is, but I have decided to frame this card, which is something that I really enjoy doing. I have used the plain frame die from the Diorama die set to create two frames, one out of wood grain paper and another one is out of thick dark cardstock. And I'm going to layer these two images to give my frame more sturdiness. Because this frame is created with one die and not by combining the two outline dies, it cuts out the identical frame each time, and it's perfect for that layering technique. I think I'll be using this one a lot on different cards. By the way, the wood grain paper that I used is also by Craft Consortium. The pad is called Wood Textures and it has 30 sheets and 20 different designs, all different kinds of wood textures. I'm simply in love with this set. I have applied some double-sided foam tape at the wrong side of the frame. Now I'm peeling off the liner and I'm going to stick down the frame onto the card, and I'm just making sure I'm lining it up really well with the edges of the card, and then I'm pressing it down. At this point, I thought I would add some small finishing touches to really bring this scene to life. So I have chosen a small boat, this one is from the bridge set, as well as the two flying seagulls, and those one is from another die set from the same release. And I'm going to stick them down onto the card and call it done. So this is what the finished project looks like. I really like how it turned out. I love how the faraway mountains kind of dissolve into the background, and I love all the layers and textures. The scene I have created is portrait oriented, but you can totally make the similar one that is the landscape oriented, because the outline dies are long enough to be used horizontally. And needless to say, this set perfectly coordinates with the rest of the collection. I've used it on a card front, but you can combine it with the Diorama die set and create your own custom layers with it. You can add the houses to this scene. You can add the stamped images if you want to. There are so many opportunities to mix and match those products. So that was the tutorial for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about these products, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm always happy to answer your questions. More tutorials featuring this new collection are coming out soon, so please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified of my new videos. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you again really soon. Bye bye.